Kagiso Trust is a development agency with its origins in the mid-80s, at a time when South Africans experienced intense levels of repression under successive states of emergency. It's associated with people who came to represent the nation's moral compass, including Beyers Naudé, Frank Chikane, and Desmond Tutu. At that time, Kagiso's focus was on supporting existing development initiatives as part of the broad anti-apartheid struggle. Post-apartheid, the organization shifted its focus to developing capacity in education and enterprise. I am Palesa Klaas.
And I'm Nathan Maimba.
And today we're talking to Paul Smith, Head of Local Government Support for Kagiso Trust. Paul, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, guys.
How are you?
Fine, thank you. So nice to share a platform with young South Africans.
Thank you for being here. Now let's jump straight into it. So from such origins, how has Kagiso ended up being involved in local government?
It has been an interesting journey. Kagiso Trust prior to 94 was funded largely by the European Union. Post 94, Kagiso Trust had to find its own source of funding and to take on projects. And in doing so, they set up an investment company called KTR in those days, headed by one of the patrons, Eric Malobi. And that was an investment company that today funds the work of the trust. Education's always been the main focus of the trust, since 1994 at least. And with the objective of alleviating poverty, education on its own is not necessarily the only vehicle to poverty alleviation. So the trust has four focus areas. I've mentioned the one which is the financial independence focus area, which is the fundraising arm of KT, which is called Kagiso Capital. We then have three other pillars, an education pillar, focusing on all aspects of education and making sure that South Africans achieve their objectives in the education realm, and supporting government initiatives around creating better schools. And the third one is on social enterprise development, which is really supporting emerging businesses, black businesses, but with specific interest in developing emerging black farmers and to transform the property sector. But in implementing all these projects, we need to understand that all these projects and all these people affected by these projects, the beneficiaries, the suppliers, the support agents, all live and exist in a context of local government. And the local government affects the mood of communities. And it can affect it to the extent where communities are either open to development or not because of the nature of the climate. So I think it made perfect sense for Kagiso to enter into the realm of local government, as local government's mandate is also very developmental. And as we see in 2020, our communities are taking a bit of strain, and development is not really happening at the speed we had hoped it would happen. So focusing on local government was a natural progression, and so that's why we are where we are. We probably in 2013 decided to spend more time focusing on local government, and since then we've sort of made quite a lot of progress in broadening our program to other issues, not just the municipality.
And so just bringing it locally, what work has Kagiso been doing here, in the Makana municipality?
Well, since we started operating again in sort of 2013, we focused initially on supporting municipalities around revenue management and data quality. The purpose of this was to try and assist municipalities in protecting their revenue streams, because the collection of own revenue is critical for development and for change. So cash is king. So we have to help municipalities get to a point where they are more efficient in terms of their collections and debt management. It was around 2017 that the Kagiso Trust board approached the local government support unit and requested that we start looking at broadening the program to look at issues that impact communities directly. And so we broadened our program to include three additional elements. One was local economic development. The next is indigent management, and indigents are the poorest of the poor. that the guys that live in municipalities that need the most social support. And then the third element was community engagement, which is really about how do we get communities to become active citizens in their own developmental process and to participate in programs with the municipalities for the benefit of all.
So my next question would be, what have, been some of the outcomes that you've had based on the work that you do?
Well, Makana is a pilot site for this new approach, and our emphasis around the new approach is for social cohesion and stakeholder cohesion. I think for too many years now we've seen municipalities left in isolation to try and fulfill their mandate, developmental mandate, and municipalities don't have the resources or the skills necessary to implement their mandate on their own. So I think bringing community and community stakeholders closer to the municipality and create groups of people that with common interests to collectively own the problems and design the solutions and take responsibility for the implementation is a good way to go. And so we approached the Makana municipality towards the end of 2018, and at that stage the Makana municipality had just appointed permanent senior management, the CFO, the mayor and the municipal manager. And I think with us interacting with the local stakeholders and the appointment of a new senior management structure, and the positive feedback that we had got from community in general, we decided that this would be a very suitable place to test the pilot, because Kagiso is not only about poverty alleviation, but in the broader sense we're trying to develop models that are creative, scalable and impactful. So we're here with our own selfish objectives of creating a model that many other small towns in South Africa can adopt and tackle the development deficit that they're currently experiencing.
So with, the Makana municipality, one of the reasons why it's been highlighted is because of its financial crisis. How can a cash-strapped municipality like the Makana municipality afford your services?
They don't buy our services. So our revenue management and data services are paid for through a tender process with National Department, COCTA. And our pilot site has been funded by Kagiso. So as I told you, in 1994, Kagiso transformed into a self-sufficient NGO, and so we have sufficient assets in South Africa to fund the projects that we need to tackle.
I think it's time we address the elephant in the room. To sort of set the scene, the Unemployed People's Movement has for some years been actively campaigning to have the Makana municipality dissolved on the basis of poor service delivery and alleged corruption. So on the 14th of January this year, the Judge Stretch declared the municipality invalid. She ordered the province to dissolve the council and place the municipality under administration. Taking this into account, we understand that Makana and the province aim to appeal the ruling. They say that they had already taken action on the issues identified in the court documents, for example, the crisis of water, sewage, rubbish, etc. So we know while opposition councillors say that they support the ruling, they've also taken a decision to continue attending council meetings to exercise their accountability role. The court action was also made possible largely because of the support of the UPM received from local residents and organizations in an informal coalition. Bring it all to the present situation, would you not say Kagiso Trust is in a conflicted position, continuing to operate under the judgment while the appeal of applications are imminent?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. We're certainly not in any sort of conflict. We must understand that there's a very big difference between sort of democracy playing itself out, and in this case in the courts. And I think wherever democracy plays itself out is a good thing. People have the right to use whatever's available to service their own needs and requirements and to improve their quality of life. And so we'd welcome any form of intervention that people would like to take that they think may assist their cause. However, for Kagiso being a developmental agent, we are focused on what needs to happen on the ground, and that needs to happen despite who's running the municipality, whether it's the council or an administrator or it's just the municipal manager. And most of our work is predominantly focused on supporting the officials and integrating stakeholders with municipal officials that's supposed to deliver services, etc. So we don't. We do note it and we recognise it, but it is something that I think South African municipalities are going to experience for many years to come. It's a groundbreaking judgment, and I think it's something that people better get used to, because I think it's going to spread across the country in many ways.
You mentioned earlier the importance of stakeholders and their participation. Some might ask why they're being asked to do work that the local government and staff are paid to do. How do you then convince individuals as well as the private sector to essentially donate their time and capacity to work for an institution that they're frustrated with?
Development is a community problem and a community issue, and it requires community participation. And I think after chatting to many businesses in town, and what attracted us to Makana is that the university, the private schooling system, the businesses that exist here, all understand the importance of the success of the town for the success of their businesses. And to insulate yourself as an island of excellence in a sea of mediocrity is really a dangerous position to be in. So, when you're importing when you're importing your economy, the education economy is the biggest economy in town. You've got to be very sensitive to the fact that the town has to be attractive to people to want to come here, want to send their kids here, and want to visit their children while they're at school or at university. So I think it's really fitting that the community do step up to the plate, because a lot of the expertise that we require to fix the town doesn't reside in the municipality. The municipality essentially is an enabler, and those enabling qualities need to be followed up by people who can practically implement change. And there is still a bit of a deficit around the understanding of who implements this change, but I think, thank goodness, in Makana, the community often step up to the plate, whether it's the NGOs or the business forums or people individually. And I think that's a really important posture to adopt as a community, to show some sort of level of authenticity to promote and support development in your communities.
Touching on that, we do have dozens of private citizen initiatives in the town that range from cleanups, fix-ups, and also welfare projects. So with all this in mind, in your opinion, what would it take for the municipality itself, being described as a service provider, to pick up that role instead of the community essentially doing their job for them?
The municipality does have to improve the quality of service delivery. And I think there's nobody in town that disputes that, including senior management, councilors, etc. And not having the resources and maybe even the skills means that communities have to step up to the plate. So I think our whole project is really about depolarization. We try to get people to set aside their ideological differences, their economic differences, their social differences, and build some sort of cohesion around strategy for development. And I think Eusebius Makaiser actually wrote in his article last week in the Mail and Guardian, and he raised that as a key point. And we must remember that where we are at the moment in Makana started a year ago, in January 2018. So it's taken a long time to onboard people, to start creating some common vision for what this town can be, and to get people to believe that participating in community development is important, and for the better and for the improvement of all communities in Makana. So I think when issues like the court case and the judgment arrive, they depolarize again. And they cause people to stand on one side of the fence and throw stones at people on the other side of the fence. And so, yes, it has been a bit of a distraction in our process, but most of the stakeholders we've got around the table that are starting to create these stakeholder clusters and engage in development issues and working with the municipality have decided to set aside the judgment as a critical issue in development and focus on the work at hand, which is the improvement of our communities.
So, for a couple of minutes now, you've been addressing this idea of getting these stakeholders together, community involvement in the process, not just leaving it to the municipality. I'm aware of a project, so to say, that has coined the Circle of Unity concept. Could you please just explain that to me, where it came from, what it is, and just who it involves?
That started a year ago, once we had signed an MOU with the municipality. And we embarked on this cohesion process. And, in order to get communities on board, you need to start with people who have influence. And so we started with some of the biggest stakeholders in the community, and we started building this concept of cohesion. And it was after some time that we managed to get buy-in from a number of key stakeholders. And we then hosted a community forum, which was an open invitation for volunteers to come and participate in a dialogue. And the dialogue was really about how do we park our own interests and focus on common strategies for the town. And at the same time, we had also met with the Rhodes University, the Vice-Chancellor, and the university also hosted a community engagement forum. And it was after that forum we decided to pull the two forums together and create one group of people that were interested in this town being more prosperous. And it's that group of people that then went away and it was coordinated by the Rhodes Business School. And it includes people from the Unemployed People's Union, it includes politicians, it includes individuals, and it includes businesses in town and NGOs. So it's quite a mixed group of people, but they all have common interests, which is the improvement of Makana. And it's that group of people that decided to call this forum the Circle of Unity. And the Circle of Unity is really a stakeholder cohesion structure, but we mustn't think that it's a stakeholder cohesion cluster that excludes the municipalities. The municipality participates at every level in this forum. Without the municipality, and research proves it to us time and time again, development is limited because the resources, the service delivery, and often access to SOEs and access to land is all to do with the municipality. So development without the municipality is very limited in terms of its potential. So it was adopted commonly across the board that any stakeholder forum would be open to every stakeholder, and every stakeholder would be equal in that forum. So the stakeholder forum is not owned by anybody. It's a group of volunteers that are like-minded, that want to see Makana be a better town.
Is there a period of time you're willing to associate yourself with Makana and the greater Makhanda? Or is it a indefinite project?
It's not indefinite. And I think it must be clearly understood that Kagiso is not here with a silver bullet. What we're trying to do is facilitate good, solid relationships. So we've been here for a year. We've planned to be here for another 2 years, and then we want to move on. If things haven't worked in that time, we'll swallow our pride and move on and try something else. But I think as a country and society, we need to continually think of how to improve our economic status. I think a lot of our communities are under a lot of pressure, and we need to find solutions urgently. And youth unemployment was one of the things that the President mentioned in his SONA speech the other day, and I'm sure that the Minister of Finance is going to talk about funding for job creation in his speech, and I hope he does. One of the biggest problems we have, and why most of our projects, or most projects, fail, is because because of project conceptualization. So when we conceive new projects and developmental initiatives, we need to spend more time focusing on program design, and think of what elements of the theory of change are really going to work, don't work, and can be changed going forward. And we need to focus on things like quick cycle iteration of programs so that we can make sure that they achieve the objectives we want them to achieve. At the moment, I suppose spending on government is as it has been for many years, and they get the allocation of funding. But I think we just need to sit around as people in local towns and start working our best to use that money for the development of the town. Yeah, so from a KT perspective, we're certainly going to advocate this model that we are developing here. We want to try and make sure we clearly understand what works and what doesn't work, and for who it works and for who it doesn't work and why it doesn't work, so that we can change it going forward to be flexible enough and agile enough to deal with a number of diverse environments. And at the end of the day, what we're trying to see is job creation, and that brings the link of focusing on indigent management and local economic development. The indigent management is the database of people that require economic support. So at least if we link the two, we can take unemployed people into the economy, and they can play an active role.
The last question. There have been a lot of complaints about, Makhanda as a town, and us living here, we'd understand why. So my question to you is, in your perspective, what would you say is good about Makhanda?
Very good question. So I get asked that question a lot when I have to present back at Kagiso to the various boards. So why did you choose this place that's so far away that no one can get to, when the other town is just around the corner that actually could be suitable? So we worked here for probably a year under the revenue project that was funded by Gwaunza. And it was during that period we started realizing that this town is quite unique. The community, and it's been referred to by a number of people, is as a circular firing squad, that everybody wanted the same thing, no one could agree on how to get to the end result. And so, but everybody we spoke to individually was so positive about the potential of the town, and that included the municipality, it included which is the officials and the councilors, it included the business forums and individuals, and there was no one that was negative about the potential of the town. And everybody that we had met was also willing to participate in the development of the town. And I think in many cases, our biggest problem is people. If we don't fix people, we fix nothing. So it is only once we get people that are open to change and ready to adopt the creativity and innovation and ready to adopt each other as partners in development. It doesn't matter what technical projects you want to introduce, none of them will be successful, or they will have limited success. So we want to make sure that before we start looking at technical projects, that we get people to, first of all, have interpersonal relationships that allow for authentic discussion, because it's only that authentic discussion that's going to allow us to take the next step forward and putting technical projects on the ground that can create employment and improve the quality of life for people in Makana. So we think Makana has a very, very unique disposition with the various stakeholders it has, the type of economy it has, and the potential it has in the people that live here, and most of all, the will for a better Makana.
Thank you so much for being here. Thank you, for just enlightening us about what Kagiso does. Not only that, but also its role here in Makhanda. Also, we heard that you're traveling to Port Elizabeth, so safe travels, and please do keep up the good work.
Thank you so much for having me. I look forward to doing this again.
This has been Nathan Maimba. Beside me is
Palesa Klaas.
And thank you again, Paul, for just spending a few minutes with us today and informing us a little bit more.
Great. Thanks a lot, guys.